So we said that Mexico doesn't disappoint in Formula E, and today was another prime example of exactly that. What a race! One of the most entertaining we've ever had, helped further, of course, by the amazing fans. 41,000 of them, and that's just in this Forest Stadium section alone, took to the stands and showed us just how passionate Mexican motorsport fans are. Lots to dive into the race, lots to recap, so let's take a look at what we learned from round 4 of season 6. So first up, let's talk about our race winner, Mitch Evans. Now that was a dominating drive, easily one of the most convincing we've seen in Formula E. Starting with the move into the first corner, now that took some serious courage that early on in the race, and it's guts like that that can win you a championship. Followed by the masterclass in efficiency and gap building, it's safe to say that the teams resolved their issues from Santiago. Yes, Mitch profited from the mayhem going on behind him, but regardless, he showed great pace and now sits at the top of the standings.
I mean, I've never had a race like that in Formula E where everyone's disappearing behind you. Normally it's like everyone's in your mirrors and you know, you got to defend really hard. So obviously the start was a bit tense with Andre, but after that I just put my head down and you know, the race pace was so good and the car was so consistent. It was enough to obviously keep creeping away and sort of control the race.
Evans is now going to be in Group 1 for qualifying in Marrakesh, so it's going to be interesting to see if that pace can hold up against the challenge of being in the first group. In the previous race in Santiago, there was a little bit of friction on the track between the two DS Techeetah drivers, Jean-Eric Vergne and Antonio Felix da Costa. The two drivers, in hope to avoid the same issues that cost them in Santiago, over-organised themselves, letting each other pass when necessary, but as a result, left smiles on the faces of Buemi and Evans in front, who could increase their gap on the DS Techeetah drivers, who were paying each other compliments behind. It all worked out in the end for da Costa though, who charged his way up the field, starting 9th, finishing 2nd, another very consistent drive and another podium to boot. On another day, da Costa could have even perhaps pushed for the win, but not today because Mitch Evans was a force to be reckoned with. It's just qualifying now that's letting da Costa down. He's giving himself a lot more work to do in the race than he perhaps needs to, but having said that, it's a new team, it's a new car, so surely that one lap pace will come.
Starting 9th and 10th and all that, it gives for good races, but it's a lot more stress than what I would want ideally. So yeah, need to get a little bit more acquainted with the car in qualies and go from there.
Sebastien Buemi well and truly made up for the team mistakes here last season and finished 3rd today. Seb, so far this season, has had his fair share of bad luck. And it's not that he hasn't looked strong, it's just that perhaps he hasn't been getting the points or positions that he deserves. But if that bad luck is now behind him, we could be seeing a lot more of Sebastien Buemi. So moving on to Envision Vergne Racing, today it felt like it just had to be more than bad luck. So much promise, but just without delivery. Could today have been a case of Sam Bird just wanting it too much? His race was going well, he climbed his way to 2nd from 5th, but then the pressure from da Costa behind was mounting and Bird pushed too much to defend in attack mode, and he lost not only the place, but also the hopes of points and even finishing the race. What a recovery drive from Alexander Sims. He started the race in 18th, not exactly the best qualifying session, but he made up for it with a fantastic drive, assisted by all that chaos that was going on ahead of him, meant that he could climb his way up the field, and he ended up finishing the race in 5th. Great energy management, and throughout the race in general, Sims was around 1% better off than the rest of the grid. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but in Formula E, every percent is crucial. And now Sims is only 1 point behind championship leader Mitch Evans.
When you start at the back, you obviously can take that risk to save energy in the early laps and see where the race goes. Did quite a few overtakes. There was obviously a lot happening in the race, a few positions that were sort of gifted to us from people crashing, but nevertheless, you know, we were fast and made things happen as well, so yeah, it was good fun.
It was a little bit of a disaster for Lotterer and the Tag Heuer Porsche Formula E team as Andre went from hero to 0. He started on pole, lost positions in the first corner, and then later contact and battling resulted in damage and not finishing the race at all. And it wasn't that much better for the other German manufacturer debut of Mercedes-Benz EQ, as Stoffel Vandoorne started 10th, crashed towards the end of the race, cost himself points, and moves from 1st to 4th in the driver's standings. Nick de Vries had a very promising start to the day. He qualified 3rd, but in the race he was too eager to get that first podium, pushed too hard and ended up in the wall. An honourable mention has to be made for the Mahindra drivers. Both of them started at the back of the grid after a penalty for changing gearbox components, but 2 great recovery drives left Ambrosio finishing 10th and Pascal Wehrlein finishing 9th, and they both leave Mexico with points. It's always a pleasure coming to race here in Mexico City. The fans, they come out in their masses and make it all incredibly special. Next up, we head to Marrakesh, and there is still everything to play for.